News Talk 94.5 WPTI, 96.7 FM WTOB, and you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you to retire that job but keep the paycheck. Of course, with me is Brice Payne. This morning, we're going to talk about unexpected expenses in retirement you have not planned for. Hey, Brice, how's it going?
Good morning, Doug. I am doing well. How are you?
Tired.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of running back and forth from Charlotte to here, and there's a reason for that recently.
There is a reason for that. My wife and I, Sherry, have decided we're going to move up here on a permanent basis. I have been going back and forth between Charlotte and Clemens since 2007, and I'm getting tired of the road race. And it just makes sense. You know, we've expanded the office. Our son's joined the firm. But, you know, moving's never fun.
Oh, I hate it.
I hate it too. and we're knee deep in it. We started last weekend and still unpacking boxes. And of course, we're building a house.
Yeah, so you're going to be doing it again here in a couple of years.
Yes. Hopefully in less than a couple of years.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been, boy.
Very good. Well, you know, we're going to look forward to having you up here in the office full time instead of sharing you with Charlotte. So looking forward to that.
Me too.
And what else we always look forward to here at the Wealth Guardians is doing our Wealth Guardian service salute to all of our men and women in uniform out there who do what they need to do so that we can all live in a free society, and it never escapes our attention or leaves our minds. So we want to take a moment and thank everybody out there who does put on that uniform to give you that good old Wealth Guardian service salute here. You are in our thoughts, you're in our minds, and we know this country that we all love and care for wouldn't survive if it wasn't for people making the sacrifices and the families making the sacrifices along with them. Doug, you served in the Navy. Garrett served in the Navy as well. Most of my family served in the Air Force. I served in the Peace Corps. I don't know if that counts or not. But at any rate, thank you to everyone out there who put on the uniform. Doug, thank you for your service as well. And let's go ahead and get started on it here. We're talking about retirement expenses for which you forgot to plan. Now, Doug, we see probably about 50 to 75 people come through our doors on a yearly basis who need some help or think that they need help with some retirement planning. And some of them, particularly the engineers, have already put together some kind of spreadsheet where they've calculated out numbers, the income, their assets that they have, the growth rates that they can expect and whatnot. And very, very rarely, in fact, I can't think of the last time that I saw somebody do their own retirement plan where they didn't forget one thing or another. There's always something left out or they didn't properly calculate for. So this is kind of what we're talking about today is when you're budgeting for retirement, you might think, okay, I know how much my groceries are costing. I know how much putting gas in the car costs and all that. But there's some other things out there that we help people realize that they forgot when calculating how much money they're going to need in retirement. So let's stop into that first one here, medical expenses.
Unplanned medical expenses. Yeah, you know, the statistical average is that a retired couple will spend between $200,000 and $250,000 on this. And it's not paid for by Medicare, and most people don't plan for it. Now, the bulk of this is going to come up in the latter years of life when you need home health care and long-term care.
Not evenly spaced out for all 30 years of retirement.
It is not. And then there's also dental expenses, which Medicare does not cover. You know, what does a crown cost nowadays?
I have no idea. Fortunately, I have no idea.
Oh, my gosh. Last I heard, we were talking to a client that was getting one. It was like $1,500–$1,600.
Medicare doesn't cover it.
Doesn't cover that.
And so here, just think about that. If you're working right now, you haven't retired yet, your medical insurance probably has a dental plan attached to it. Right. So if you had that crown that you had to have put in, it probably was only $100 or so out of pocket to you.
Yeah. And again, going back to long-term care and home health care, that can be a devastating expense. I mean, God forbid if you have a memory care issue and you know, one of the two spouses has to go into a memory care facility, that can run $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month.
A month, and you might be in there for
A long
10 years.
time.
5, 10, it's not unheard of.
No, not at all.
And so what happens in a case like that? You think, hey, I've got all my expenses planned out. Boom. Now you need to be in a full-time long-term care facility for, let's just say on the modest side, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at $10,000 a month, how long until that wipes out your retirement assets, not just for you, but for your spouse as well?
It doesn't take long at all. And then, you have to use your own assets to pay for it. Then you can fall back on Medicaid, but there's a lot of rules, and there's a look-back procedure of 5 years. There are some ways that a healthy stay-at-home spouse, you can shield some assets, but you're going to need a lawyer to be able to set that up for you. So that's an expense in itself.
And not every place takes Medicaid
right.
as well. So you got to think about that. Yeah, so medical expenses is one of the things. And here's the way I look at it. I'm 54 right now. I've been fortunate enough to be healthy my entire life. I've had a couple of small minor surgeries, nothing real serious throughout my life. But you go into retirement and somebody brings up, hey, we want to plan for medical expenses. And you think, well, I've been healthy my whole life. I don't think that's going to be relevant to me. Yeah, your body isn't getting stronger and running in better shape as the years go on. It's unfortunately, I hate to say it, it's all of us are deteriorating to some type.
I am
some
a
level.
prime example of that. I played a lot of football early on, and it's catching up to me. I've already had 4 orthopedic procedures, so
Wow.
It does catch up.
Well, if you're just tuning in with us, this is Brice Payne and Doug Ray, and you're listening to the Wealth Guardians. And we are talking this morning about retirement expenses for which you forgot to plan. So a lot of times people will come to us with a budget in mind and they left something out. So we're kind of going over those things that you might want to consider what that is going to cost you in retirement. So we've talked about medical expenses. Doug, let's move on to the next one now. Unexpected travel.
Yeah, unexpected travel.
A funner one. This is a better one.
This is fun.
This is a better one to talk about.
It's kind of crazy, too, at the same time, because I've been noticing a lot of this going on. It seems like the younger generation, when they get married, they want to have destination weddings, right?
Yes.
And what's even funnier about that is my son, Garrett.
Yes.
The last couple of his buddies, good friends from high school, the first one got married a year or so ago. So, of course, they have a bachelor's party. Okay. Ryan lives in Tampa. Well, guess where they had the bachelor's party? Puerto Rico.
Oh, it makes sense.
Oh,
yes,
perfect.
Just right on the way.
Then the next buddy who's getting married this April 1st, Gary, so he lives in Charlotte. Where is his bachelor party going to be?
New York City.
Nashville.
Okay.
Okay. A little bit, I love Nashville. Great place.
Oh, yeah.
But come on. Ryan's in Tampa. Gary's in Charlotte. You can't find a good place in Tampa and Charlotte to have a bachelor's party?
What stays in Charlotte, what happens in Charlotte stays in Charlotte.
Exactly.
I mean, there's no reason not to have it there, no.
So your granddaughter may come up and say, hey, Brian and I are going to get married over in Hawaii. So, yeah, it's just nuts nowadays.
It is. Well, Belle and I did our wedding in Colorado, but that was a smaller event. But yeah, that's so unexpected travel. Now, this again, like the medical expenses, is not going to be one that is evenly flowed out through all of the years. You might only take one trip a year right now while you're working, but as soon as you retire, you're probably, at least for the first couple of years, you're going to increase. And, you've got that, Italy trip or wherever else, all these places that you've wanted to see your whole life, you're going to try to knock a lot of those out early on.
Yeah.
Then, at a certain point, you're going to start to get a little bit tired of the traveling and maybe only just do a few. You're gonna space them out a little bit more. And then later on, especially when the medical expenses start kicking up, then your travel is going to slow down.
Exactly.
And this is what we refer to, Doug, as the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years.
No-go years.
As soon as you retire, that's generally the go-go years. You're getting out there, you're doing stuff, whether it's long distance or short distance. You're getting out there and moving around, and you're on the go. Then it starts to catch up with you a little bit, and you slow down, and you start appreciating the nice home that you've got and just sticking around the house. And then later on in life, the last thing you want to do is go anywhere.
Exactly.
So it's an early expense, but as it fades out, your medical expenses tend to replace it. So something else there. Now, Doug, talk about expenses. There is an expense that we are all familiar with, and that's taxes.
Oh, yes. And that's coming up, April 15th.
We've got a April 15th is the tax filing deadline, unless you filed for an extension. And of course, at this time of the year, as we are want to do, we have our tax seminar right now, just because it's on everybody's mind. And we've got that coming up Thursday, the 23rd. That's just we just had that one.
We just had that one.
And Tuesday, the 28th.
The 28th at 6:30. It's going to be in our office, which we've expanded our office. We've got a classroom setting in there. And that's right in front of the Clemens Water Tower. So if you look up in the sky when you're in Clemens, we're right in front of it. It's 3554 Clemens Road. It's the old Clemens Library. And
according to a lot of people who come in here, it should still be the current library.
Yeah.
Some people are still coming in here. But anyway, it's the Tuesday the 28th at 6:30 p.m. Doug, how much does it cost to attend?
None. Zero.
Nothing.
Squat.
Okay, so there's a retirement plan for you. If you want to do free stuff, come and learn about taxes in retirement. Taxes, what you've experienced if you have not retired yet, the taxes and the tax schedules and the brackets that you are used to change dramatically in retirement. And this is a seminar that helps you understand what you will be in for when you retire as far as paying Uncle Sam. No cost, no obligation to attend, but you do have to register. And the easiest way to register is to give us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. You can also register by going to our website, thewealthguardians.com, and clicking on the events tab. No cost or obligation, but you do have to register, and we would love to see you there. Now, we're going to come back to this topic on the other end of the break, retirement expenses for which you forgot to plan, but we do have the trivia question to get to. So, Doug, are you ready for the trivia question?
I guess. Let's see what happens.
All right, Doug, this common annual practice in essentially every country today dates back to 3000 BC in ancient Egypt, in what was then a biannual event called the Following of Horus. All right. What is it that almost every world citizen does today, at least once a year, that people in Egypt were doing 3,000 years ago? And here's a hint. It is so important to us that many of us pay to have somebody else do it for us.
Okay.
All right. So stick around for the answer to that trivia question on the other side of this short break. This is Brice Payne. With me is Doug Ray. The show's The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM WTOB. News Talk 94.5 WPTI. 96.7 FM WTOB. You're listening to The Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. I'm Brice Payne along with Doug Ray. And in this second segment this morning, we are continuing our talk about retirement expenses for which you forgot to plan. Now, before we get to our trivia question, and I'm not sure that we stumped Doug this week, but I want to make sure I'm not stumping you either. I got two questions for you. A, are you looking forward to your retirement? Surely you are. And do you want to make sure that you are making the best financial decisions for your retirement? Well, I would hope you are. If you answered yes to those questions, then Doug and I have great news for you. We here at the Wealth Guardians offer a no cost, no obligation, second opinion / review of your retirement plan. This includes a deep analysis of your assets, your investment portfolio, your insurance policies, your income needs, risk tolerance, risk exposure, tax mitigation strategies, legacy goals, and even the fees that you are currently paying. Our goal is really quite simple. We want to help you lower your fees and align your risk and improve your overall retirement picture so you can retire the job and keep the paycheck. But the ball is in your court. You have to give us a call. Our phone number is 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. Give us a call or visit us at thewealthguardians.com to set up your financial plan review with Doug, Garrett, and myself today. And remember, the markets aren't going to wait for you. Okay, let's go ahead and get to that trivia question. Doug, are you ready?
I think I am.
All right. So, Doug, this common annual practice in essentially every country today dates back to 3000 BCE in ancient Egypt, in what was then a biannual event called the Following of Horus. What is that almost every world citizen does today, at least once a year, that people in Egypt were doing 3,000 years ago? And I've got a hint. It is so important to us that many of us pay to have somebody else do it for us.
Well, you gave me some great hints there. So I can pretty much rule out it ain't the Jubilee.
Okay.
So it's paying your taxes.
And that is the IRS bell right there. That is absolutely correct. Taxes date back to 3000 BC. Apparently, there was a biannual event called the Following of Horus when the pharaoh went around himself collecting taxes in his dual roles as head of state and the living incarnation of the god Horus. Now, of course, taxation is even described in the Bible when Joseph tells the people of Egypt to give a fifth of their crops to the pharaoh. So that is what the Following of Horus was, and good job, Doug.
All right.
All right. So let's go ahead now and move on back to our topic. This is retirement expenses for which you forgot to plan. And just if you weren't listening, if you didn't catch the first segment, a lot of people will come to us as financial planners thinking that they've got a retirement plan all figured out. They know what their assets are. They know what their income is going to be from Social Security. And they think they know what their expenses are. But when we do a little bit deeper dive, my goodness, they might have left something out. Now, they don't usually leave out the cell phone bill. They don't usually leave out keeping the lights on or putting gas in the car. Those are the common ones. But in the first topic, in the first one, we covered medical expenses and unexpected travel. Why? Because those are irregular payments. That's not something that you pay month in and month out. So we're going to keep on that theme. And how about parental or child assistance?
The sandwich generation. Yes. And Mr. Brice, you are a living example of the sandwich generation.
In a good way or a bad way?
Yeah, that's a good way. I mean, if you don't know, Brice's mom, who's in her 80s, I think now.
She's 85.
Has moved from Colorado here to Winston-Salem.
Moved a block away from me.
Yeah.
Ideal.
Ideal.
Yep.
And of course, Brice has a child who's a grown adult child. And,
who moved away from me at the same time that grandma
go.
moved in. She headed to the other coast.
But a lot of folks are finding out, and we're running across this almost on a daily basis, where, you know, a child goes off to college, they get educated, but they can't find a job. And they end up moving back home for a period of time until they can get established, and it takes them a while. And at the same time, they may have college debt. And guess who's paying for that? Yeah, the sandwich generation.
The sandwich generation.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is an important one, and it is something that oftentimes somebody will overlook. And it's not something that can be easily predicted, too.
No, you can't.
A lot of us don't know exactly what our parents' financial situation is. We don't want to pry, and we keep our fingers crossed that our kids are going to be able to be self-sustaining the moment that they walk out the door, but that's not always the case. So sometimes you want to kind of put those blinders on and think, no, everything's going to, my parents have always been self-sustaining. That's going to be fine. And I taught my child right. I raised them right. They're going to be fine. Well, you know, obviously we hope that's the case, but oftentimes it's not the case. And you want to plan for that in your retirement planning. Worst case scenario, you know, if it doesn't end up being an expense, great. Gravy on top of the retirement plan. But you don't want to have it be an unexpected expense. So that is one of the, goes along with unexpected travel and with medical expenses, one of those retirement expenses for which you forgot to plan. And if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardians Show with Doug Ray and Brice Payne. And as I said, we are talking about retirement expenses for which you forgot to plan. And the next one we're going to talk about here is everybody's absolute favorite, taxes.
Of course, we got to talk about that now. April 15th is coming quick.
Now, Doug, why would somebody, when they're creating their retirement plan for themselves without professional help, why would they have left off taxes?
Taxes can be an unknown. You know, we know what it is now. What's it going to be in 5 or 10 years?
Right.
We know the current tax code is going to sunset back to what it used to be at the end of 2025, but we also have an administration right now that seems hell-bent on raising taxes. You know, they say they're not going to raise taxes on anybody making less than $400,000. I'm not sure I'm ready to believe that based on
Well,
what I've seen so far.
And it all trickles down to those lower income people
It does.
anyway.
So, it absolutely does.
Yeah. Now, taxes, the reason I said, why do people leave this off? It's not that they leave it off. It's that taxes change dramatically in retirement. So imagine you're out there, you're still working, you haven't retired yet. You are probably familiar with the tax bracket, your joint or your single tax bracket, your adjusted gross income, and perhaps long-term capital gains and short-term capital gains. There is, and Doug, we can go into this. We've got a seminar coming up on this on Tuesday the 28th. We're going to talk about that. But taxes change dramatically in retirement. Social Security, for example.
I was about to mention that. You know, Social Security, as soon as you start taking Social Security, you subject that to taxes, and it doesn't take a lot of income to do that.
I'm going to ask the listeners out there, how much, now in North Carolina, not on the state, as I understand it, you're not taxed, but on the Fed, your Social Security is taxed. How much are you paying in taxes on your Social Security? Probably most people who have not retired have no idea how much their Social Security is going to be taxed.
Right.
There's 3 tax tiers to your Social Security.
Right.
Either 0% of it is taxed, 50% of it is taxed, or 85% of it is taxed.
Yep.
How do you know, how on earth do you know which one is? Because it's not based on the adjusted gross income. It's based off of
Provisional.
Yep. And that's different than your adjusted gross income. In other words, it gets complicated.
It gets very complicated.
It gets complicated, and if you're working, you say, well, I've never experienced that before. Well, you need to plan for it for your retirement plan. That's why the Wealth Guardians do these seminars free of charge to the public out there so that we can help. It's kind of a community service that we do in a sense. Yes, we'd like to be able to see some people come aboard as clients, but even if you are convinced you've got a sound retirement plan and that you have dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's going into retirement, I highly suggest that you attend our seminar, and it's Tuesday, March 28th at 6:30 p.m. in Clemens at the old library. As Doug says, just look for the water tower. We're right underneath the big white water tower off of Clemensville Road. No cost or no obligation to attend, but you do have to register, and that would be by giving us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409, or visit us at thewealthguardians.com and click on the events tab. We just need to know who's coming and how many to plan for. But that is, again, Tuesday the 28th at 6:30 p.m. We just had another one on Thursday the 23rd. So that's taxes, and that's why we do that, because planning for taxes and retirement is essential. Doug, anything you want to add?
Yeah, let me add this. We're also going to be talking in that workshop about the Secure Act 2.0 and the changes that the government put on us January 1st. Quite honestly, I think you're going to like some of these changes. Most people don't know anything about them yet because it is relatively new legislation. But most of it's good stuff. So you need to come out and see how you can take advantage of Secure Act 2.0 and improve your retirement.
I mean, we've all got to pay Uncle Sam something, but wouldn't you want to pay Uncle Sam the minimum that you are obligated to?
Amen.
All right, so let's go ahead and get registered for that. All right, let's move on to the next one, Doug. Maintenance and repair.
Yeah, your house is getting older, right? So might need a roof. Hot water heater, might want to upgrade a bathroom or a kitchen.
We've done all of that. Everything that you just listed, my wife and I have done in the last 5 years. We also added a deck and we're adding a hot tub. But yes, so maintenance and repair. This would be another one that people leave off when they're trying to do their own budget. We have to make sure that we are covering those. They're going to be irregular costs, and some years they're going to be a lot more than others, but they happen. So let's plan for that in our annual budget so that we're not caught behind the 8 ball. All right, so that's maintenance and repair. And the last one we want to cover here, Doug, before we let everyone get on with their weekend, is inflation.
Oh, we haven't seen that, have we?
I think it used to exist. No, yeah. So, just as a reminder to everybody, inflation for the last couple of years has been up around 7, 8, 9%.
Yeah.
Huge spike. But we were fortunate for the 15 years, 20 years before that we were only experiencing somewhere around a 2% inflation rate. We had a very mild inflation rate for a long time. We got spoiled by that.
Yeah, like everything else in the economy, inflation is cyclical. It comes and it goes.
And we had a long run, just like we had a long run without a bear market there, we had a long run without inflation. And that is something else that you have to plan for in retirement. And we will help you figure out what rate of inflation to plan for to make sure that you are staying on track for your retirement plan. And Doug, we've got to stay on track with our time here. We are out of it for this weekend, but we will be back here next weekend. Anything you want to add?
I think I'm good. You and Garrett got the helm next weekend, so have a good time.
Thank you very much. Well, we hope the rest of your weekend is everything you want it to be. This is Brice Payne along with Doug Ray. The show is The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM WTOB.